Just 16 hours after the lockout began, the federal government stepped in.
The impacts of the current impasse are being borne by all Canadians.
The Labour Minister changing course, turning the dispute over to the Canada Industrial Relations Board.
We are asking the board to direct a resumption of activities and a return to work at the railways. We are asking them to begin the process of binding arbitration and to extend collective agreements that are currently in place.
Almost immediately, Canadian Pacific Kansas City said it was preparing to restart railway operations. CN Rail ended its lockout and initiated a recovery plan.
We are satisfied that this is coming to an end. However, we would have preferred a negotiated settlement, obviously.
The union, however, said picket lines would remain in place while it consults with legal counsel. In a statement writing, Canada's two major railways manufactured this crisis, held the country hostage, and manipulated the government. Teamsters Canada Rail Conference is deeply disappointed by this shameful decision. Together, the CN and CPKC rail networks stretch across the country and crucially link with the U.S. all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico. From farmers to miners to manufacturers, even a brief shutdown hit hard.
We have not been able to ship liquid chlorine since Monday of last week due to the embargoes and moving the safety material off of the rail. So we are now on day 11 of no shipments of chlorine.
We are losing, for every day of the strike, $55 to $63 million a day in lost sales for our fertilizer products.
Small businesses, too, may have paid dearly.
I think if I can learn anything from the past couple of years, there's always a cause and effect, and even a week's delay can be an issue.
With high costs and slim margins, there's little room for the unexpected.
A lot of our businesses are just barely surviving, so anything that will push us over the edge.
So, Nisha, as much relief as this might bring for businesses, the back-to-work order doesn't deal with the underlying dispute that led to these work stoppages.
It's been 9 months of tense negotiations. CN and CPKC say the union hasn't been taking their offer seriously. The unions say the railway companies are trying to gut worker protections around rest periods and scheduling, and they say that will jeopardize safety. So all sides still seem far apart, and it's not clear, Adrienne, just how long it will take them to find common ground.
All right, Nisha Patel, thank you. All right, let's turn to Evan Dyer in Ottawa. So, Evan, why did the government wait until there was already a lockout to take this action?
Well, they certainly could have acted sooner, Adrienne. I mean, the government could have sent this negotiation to binding arbitration at any point during the last few weeks when it was pretty clear that the two sides weren't making progress. And that's what CN Rail wanted it to do. That's what many in the business community also wanted. What really made it hard for the Liberals was the opposition of the New Democrats. And Trudeau's minority government obviously depends on the support of the NDP. And the NDP was dead against intervention, as its leader said this morning when he visited the Teamsters picket in Montreal.
We're not going to accept any interference, whether that's forcing arbitration, whether that's forcing back to work. None of that is allowed on our watch.
But still, Evan, it seems that there was, something about this stoppage that made them decide to risk upsetting the NDP.
That's right. Clearly, the government decided that the threat from the rail shutdown and all of the economic damage that it was going to entail was a greater danger than calling the bluff of the NDP. And they were already facing a lot of anger from the business community for allowing even the briefest shutdown. For instance, this is what the Canadian Federation of Independent Business answered when we asked them who they blamed more, the union or the railroads.
We blame the government, actually, because the negotiation has been going on for months and months and months. And indications of the negotiations were that both parties could not reach an agreement.
But of course, business worries mainly about the bottom line. For politicians, of course, it's more complicated. They have to worry about voters, many of whom are also workers and union members. And that doesn't only apply to the Liberals. The federal Conservatives have stayed quiet through this dispute as well, Adrienne, and they also haven't commented on the decision to send it to binding arbitration.
Interesting. All right, Evan Dyer in Ottawa.